G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. It's my setup video, how I built my simulator, how I built my room, what I've done, how much it costs, would I change anything? All the information is going to be in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, we got the lights on now. And the first thing I'll start off with is my room dimensions and where I have this simulator. So my sim room is actually my garage. It's a double garage. It is just a standard double garage here in Australia. So the room dimensions are, so the reason I chose to build this sim custom rather than buying a pre-built package, say from 24/7 Golf or any of those other retailers, was one was cost. I didn't have the money up front at the time. I bought individual components slowly and built it up over time versus having to do that one massive outlay at the start. Another reason I chose to custom build versus buy one of the pre-built frames was I also wanted to use this room as a garage, as it's intended to. So right now we have two cars, they're both in the driveway, but if I needed to, I can pack up this sim room in about 20 minutes and I can pull the cars in the garage. If I was to do it again and build this sim from scratch, would I go for one of those pre-built options? We'll leave that till the end of the video to find out. All right, so let's get started. So one of the first things you want to consider when you're building your frame to hold your screen is aspect ratio. This is something that if you're gonna project an image onto the screen, you want to get this correct. Otherwise, you're gonna have bars on the sides or the top and bottom. And what I mean by bars is just blank space. As you can see in my videos, I've got that blank space up the top where it's just impact screen and there's no actual image projected onto that. What I chose to do, and everyone's gonna be different, I chose to make the screen a little bit taller and have that, I was happy to have that space at the top, that no image is there, just because I'd rather have a taller screen. So now I can hit flop shots and not worry about the ball going over as much, but everyone's going to be different. If you don't want to have any empty space around your screen, you've really got to be aware of the aspect ratio that you're going to be projecting onto the screen. If you're using an iPad, for instance, that's a 4:3 aspect ratio. You might want to build your frame and screen to a 4:3 aspect ratio. If you're going to be using a laptop, then generally it's 16:9 is your aspect ratio that you're going to project onto. In the future, I do intend on putting ceiling protection up, which will kind of cover a lot of that blank space that you see in the top of my videos. But for now, I'm happy to have that blank space there. Another reason that I chose to have the additional height was that I can rotate my screen, my impact screen. I can just flip it 180 and then I've basically doubled the life of my screen because now the ball's going to be impacting in different locations. So I was happy to have that blank space at the top because not only does it help me with flop shots or shots that I hit higher, but also I can flip my screen 180 and I've basically got a brand new screen because the impact locations are going to be different. Okay, so let's start at probably the most important bit of this build, which was the actual frame that holds the impact screens. So when I was researching for this, a lot of custom builders in America used the EMT tubing and the connectors that you can buy over there. Here in Australia, those are hard to come by. So I had to purchase everything from the States and get it sent to Australia, which has a big shipping cost. If you're in Australia, be aware, it'll get sent with FedEx and it'll actually get stopped when it gets to Australia and you'll have to pay import duties on that. So I think I had to pay, I can't remember exactly, but it was roughly around 250 additional Australian dollars to actually get it released into Australia. So when I got it, I ended up getting all of my stuff from Carl's Place, and I'll put up a picture now and show the costs of all that. So I had to get my screen and connectors in the US. At the time I couldn't, but now you can actually get connectors from Amazon in Australia. So if you're looking to build a frame now, I would consider looking on Amazon and trying to get the cheapest price for these connectors because these are the hardest thing to come by in Australia. As for the poles themselves, I bought them from Bunnings, local hardware store here in Australia. They come in 3 meter lengths. very easy to get. But for you guys in the US, you can just use EMT conduit. So what you're looking at now is pictures of the actual frame itself before I put anything on. What I had to end up doing after I built this initial frame is buying more support for the front bottom. So initially I had the screen hanging down. It was very hard for me to get that sag out of the bottom of the screen. And I think that's just because my screen width is so big. So what I had to end up doing is buy 2 different connectors and actually have EMT tubing at the bottom as well, so then I could bungee the screen on and tension it up and take that sag out. And so what I'll show you now is I'll go around the back of the screen and show you how it's all connected. So as you can see, the tubing there, these are the connectors I was talking about. So additionally, I've also got, we moved in here, we had spare moving blankets, so I've literally just put the moving blankets up here to try and deaden the sound a bit. So how they're connected are these bungees. So a lot of videos I saw, the people connected their screen using these bungees, and I just did the exact same thing. They're very easy to use, ball bungees. To tension the screen correctly, sometimes I had to use a couple of them just doubled up. And then to actually cover up the tubes itself, I just went to, again, Bunnings, local hardware store, and bought some of this pipe insulator. And that works. Just if a ball hits the pipe, it just kills the speed. So that's the frame itself. Now I'm going to talk about the screen. So the screen's a big one for me. The first screen I got was from Carl's Place, and it was a decent screen, but what I noticed, it wore very quick. And I think this is just due to if you look at the nit, I'm going to put up some pictures now. If you look at the nit on the Carl's screen, it's quite wide. Even though it's their premium screen, it's quite wide. And the issue I was having is with wedges, when they would hit the screen, they would actually, because of the spin, they would just tear the screen. And it was only over the space of about a month, I was noticing a lot of wear, like a significant amount of wear from my wedges hitting the screen. What I do like about the Carl screen is you can buy it with these side covers or with flaps. So I'll put a picture up of the flaps now, and you can see it just makes it look quite neat around the edges. But like I said, I was seeing a lot of significant wear on this screen. And so what you've probably noticed in my videos is I have an additional piece of impact screen or fabric that I hang in front of my Carl screen. This additional strip of impact screen I got from Hybrid Me. Phil Stewart, he does a lot of YouTube videos. Check out his channel. If you're looking for impact screen, I highly recommend getting the impact screen from Hybrid Me, because the quality of the impact screen that I saw, I'll put up 2 images now. I'll label them so you can see which one's the Carl screen and which one's the Hybrid Me premium impact screen. And what you can see is the Hybrid Me, it's probably hard to tell on the videos, but the Hybrid Me premium impact screen, the knit is a lot tighter. And from what I've seen, the durability of the Hybrid Me impact screen is far superior to the Carl's impact screen. I have abused this impact strip from Hybrid Me, and it's still going strong. I will have to rotate it in the future, but that's the beauty of having an additional strip now, is that I can hit as many balls as I want into it, just absolutely abuse it, and then get a new strip, and it's only going to cost me a fraction of the cost of what it would be for a whole new impact screen. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do this, buy an additional strip. Whether you buy your impact screen from Carl's, get them to send you an additional impact strip that you can hang up in front of your screen. We kind of double up this room as a movie room, so I wanted to keep that impact screen as new as possible. Having this strip of impact screen in front of my other one just means that when we do watch movies in here, I can just take that strip down and I've got a perfect screen for movies. If I was to do this again, would I buy the Carl's impact screen? Probably not. I'd probably just get the Hybrid Me premium impact screen. And then I would buy an additional strip from Hybrid Me to hang in front of the screen behind. If you're wondering what that strip of impact screen cost me from Hybrid Me, it was 150 British pounds, because he's located in the UK, or 270 Australian dollars. To connect the Hybrid Me impact screen, I just used tarp clips, and again, just used some bungee cord and just tied it around. I'll put up a video now. So one of the issues that I had to overcome in front of my screen, now that I had the additional metal bar along the bottom of the screen to take out the tension, the only issue with that is now I had a metal bar running along the ground, and any thin shots are going to hit that metal bar and ricochet any direction. So I had to get some sort of protection in front of that metal bar. And what I ended up going with is they're actually foam gutter guards that you can buy from Bunnings or your local hardware store. They're really cheap. They're about $10 Australian or $11.44 each. But they're absolutely perfect for putting in front of this metal bar at the bottom of the screen. I've had my kids in here who have thin shots. I've thinned a 3 wood. They basically hit this gutter guard and just shoot directly up. And what I did also was I just tied a bit of bungee around them and tied it to the metal pole, just so then they don't bounce out and you don't have to keep readjusting them. They just stay where they are. Okay, so that's the screen itself and the frame. All right, so the next part of the build, I'm going to talk about the side curtains. So the side curtains, they kind of serve a dual purpose. They're really good for stopping, obviously, shanks and bad shots, but they also help the R10. I have metal shelves running the length of both sides of my garage. So the curtains not only help with errant shots, but also they help the R10 because you're not going to get all that interference from the metal being on both sides of the garage. So these curtains, they're heavy duty, they're thick curtains. They're 3 meters from in length, so from top to bottom, and then you buy it by the meter. So I bought this from Spotlight, which is kind of like your, I guess, Hobby Lobby equivalent in America. The cost for these, I can't remember, I'm not 100% on what these cost, but they were only about $100 to $200 Australian. So not that expensive for what you're getting. So like I said, I got 5 meters in length on either side, and they're 3 meters in width, I guess, from ceiling to floor. So they hang down. Like I said, my ceiling's 2.7 meters in height, and these are 3 meters, so they just hang to the ground perfectly. I do have the right hand side on a cheap rail that I got from Amazon. It was $55. It's a bendable rail, so you just get it, unbend it, hang it up on the roof, and now you've got your curtain on a rail. The reason I put the right side on the rail is because we have a lot of stuff on the right side that we need access to, and also the entry to the garage is on that side. So having that one on a rail just makes it a lot easier for accessing all of that stuff. And on this side, as you can see, I've got the screen hung up using eye hooks and carabiners. And the beauty of that is when I do pack this room up and use it as a garage, I can unclip that screen, fold it over my impact screens, and connect it using the carabiners, and then the impact screens are protected from anything. All right, so let's talk about the projector. So the projector I went with was the Optoma GT 1080 HDR. It's a full HD short throw projector, and this is probably one of the more common ones that people use when building home simulators. I ended up getting it for 1200 or just over 1200 Australian dollars. It was on sale when I got it. I highly recommend this projector. It's been really good so far, and the image that I get from it is fantastic. In terms of the projector mount, I just bought a cheap one off Amazon. I think it was about $50 or less. Okay, let's talk about my spotlight. So the spotlight that I got, this was from Amazon in Australia, and it was relatively cheap. It was $37 Australian, or 25 US dollars. And this spotlight, has been fantastic. As you can see in all of my videos, it works, it serves its purpose. It came with a US plug. So for you guys in Australia, all you got to do is just use an adapter like I have. I additionally hooked it up to a Philips Hue smart switch and then a Philips Hue light switch. And so I can just turn it on and off easily. Okay, let's talk laptop now. So running this whole thing, I have a Lenovo Legion 5i. I've talked about this quite a lot. It's got an Intel Core i7 and an RTX 3060 graphics card. This laptop has been fantastic and I can't recommend this enough. A lot of the gaming laptops I looked at that were cheaper had really bad hardware. The hardware was really, it just felt real cheap. It felt flimsy. There was a lot of give in the keyboard. There was a lot of give in the plastic. The trackpad didn't feel great. But this Lenovo Legion 5i, it feels like a quality product. It's kind of like you get a Mac and it feels quality. The same, I get that same feel from this Lenovo laptop. So I can't recommend this enough. So I've got it sitting on a stand. And then additionally to that, I have it sitting on a laptop cooling pad. This laptop cooling pad and the stand are both off Amazon Australia. And they were cheap. This laptop stand was less than $50. So this laptop here in Australia, I got it on sale for $2,410. That equates to 1,632 US dollars. However, I'm sure that in the States, you guys can get better deals than we can on laptops, on gaming laptops or gaming PCs. So why did I choose a laptop over a PC? If I had a dedicated room where this sim was in my house, not in my garage, I would have probably got a PC because you can upgrade them over time. The reason I went with a laptop is because it's portable and I go away for work, and so I can take this laptop with me. And also using this garage as my sim room and also a garage, the laptop gives me the flexibility of just being able to take it out of the room if I need to, if we need to park the cars in here. So that's why I went for a laptop over a dedicated gaming PC for my sim build. Okay, so hitting mat now. So the mat that I chose to get was the premium tee-up mat or T-turf from the Net Return Australia. The reason I chose this turf initially was because I was thinking I want to tee the ball up. So I chose T-turf for not only being able to tee the ball up, but also because I thought it would give me a bit more cushion because of the pile height. So the pile height on this is 35 mils, and it does give you a lot of cushion when you're hitting shots. I don't have anything under my mat. It's just the concrete floor for the garage. Would I get this mat again? Probably not. I would be leaning more towards getting a cheaper mat and cutting out a section for an insert. It's not to say it's not a good hitting mat. It's been fantastic, and I'm happy I have it, but I am starting to feel my elbows with the repetitive hitting off this mat. So in terms of price, the mat itself was $635 in Australia. But again, in the States, you guys have access to fiber-built mats and a lot of other great products that we don't have access to in Australia. So here in Australia, this was probably the best mat that I could get within my budget. So for flooring, I ended up getting the foam interlocking tiles. These are $10 a pack from Bunnings, quite cheap. And I just wanted to basically have the floor covered. I did intend on putting synthetic turf or AstroTurf down pretty much surrounding the whole area. But the cost of that versus getting these foam tiles, it was significantly more expensive to do that. So for the time being, I just have these foam tiles and they work great. On the back of my garage door itself, you'll probably see I have some soundproofing. I ended up buying these acoustic foam panels, cutting them to size and just putting them into the gaps of my garage door to try and make it a bit quieter outside the garage and just try and add a bit of soundproofing to the room. The frame itself sits on these rubber gym tiles that I got from Bunnings or your local hardware store. And these are 1 meter by 1 meter rubber tiles and the frame sits on that. And then finally, we have the whole thing that makes this magic happen, makes this work, the Garmin R10. This Garmin R10 has been fantastic. I can't recommend the Garmin R10 enough for your first initial sim build. What this has done for the average consumer is bring sim golf to the masses. So before the R10, the cheapest launch monitor you could get that had sim golf on it was the Mevo Plus or the SkyTrack. And the price of those is triple, quadruple the cost of the Garmin R10. In terms of accuracy, this R10, for me personally, has been incredibly accurate. I've compared it to GC Quads, I've compared it to GC3s, I've compared it to TrackMans. I've been on all those systems. The R10 gives me very, very similar metrics to all of those higher end units. It does have issues, like all launch monitors, it does have issues, but overall, it's been fantastic. And for home use, I can't recommend it enough. All right, guys, so that is the build. I hope that comes across easy to digest, and I hope you've seen everything that you want to see out of this video. In terms of doing things different, if I had to do this again, would I try and do a custom build, or would I get an enclosure from, say, 24/7 Golf or one of those retailers? What you'll notice if you do a custom build is it will forever be ongoing. So for me, my build is still in the process. I need to do ceiling protection, and I've got to do a few other little things. It's almost like a never-ending build. Whereas if you get an enclosure from 24/7 Golf, it's done essentially. You get the enclosure and it's pretty much done. If I was to do this again, which way would I go? It's hard to say, but it would probably be a lot easier to just go with 24/7 Golf or one of those other retailers and get something that has everything built into it. It's easy to set up and there's no stress. With my build, it works for me. I know that I'm not going to hit the ceiling when I hit flop shots or when I hit shots. I'm not going to sky a driver. However, when I have friends come over or when my kids hit golf balls in here, they have hit the roof a few times. So having a prefabricated frame and enclosure built by 24/7 Golf or one of those other retailers would be a lot better in that scenario. The reason I like my custom build is because, like I said, I can double up this room as a garage and a simulator. Whereas if I had an enclosure from one of those other retailers, I'd have to dismantle it if I wanted to pull the cars in here. So there's pros and cons to both. The good thing about your custom build is you can do it over time like I have and slowly build it up, and you're not getting one massive cost at the start. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, let me know. If you got any questions, let me know, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.